Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me for Daily Spark TV. You guys know who I am. I'm Dr. Angela Butts-Chester, and you know what I'd like to do on my show? Say it with me. I want to enlighten, inspire, and empower you to become your best self. The scripture reminds us that the tongue is a small thing that makes grand speeches, but a tiny spark can set a great forest on a fire. And that's what we want to do today. We want to get you fired up about my guest. I'll be spending time today with Valerie Ann Walker, and we'll be talking about her book, Hedley the Hoglet of Sunbury Farm. So go on, get comfy, get cozy, get your coffee or get your tea, because we are about to get started. Hello, hello. Thank you so much for joining me here on Daily Spark TV.
Thank you. It's very good to be here, Dr. Angela.
Absolutely. Now, I cannot wait to talk to you about your book, of course, but we do have a bit of a tradition around here. And that is, we realize that there may be some viewers who are unfamiliar with you or your work. So, first question is, tell us just a little bit about yourself. What makes you you?
Well, I was born in London, England, and I've been in Canada, in Calgary, for over 60 years. And I always liked writing. And if you want to know how it all gets started, it's quite a long story. So you ask me just what you want me to tell you.
Now, being an author, is that something that you've always wanted to do, or did you find that this was a simple way of sharing your wit and wisdom with the world?
Well, I always enjoyed writing and joined a writing group. And it was my husband who suggested I write children's books. And I did and I chose Hedley the Hedgehog because as a child, I enjoyed putting food and water out for hedgehogs and see their antics. So that's how it got started.
Oh, I love that. That is such a wonderful little tidbit. Now, the title of your book, Hedley the Hoglet of Sunbury Farm. Can you tell us, how did you come about the title for this book? I know that many times authors will say, it kind of just came to me out of the blue, or I was writing and I wrote a certain sentence and it all just clicked. How did you come about the title for this book?
Well, this is actually a prequel to the whole series, but Hedley was the name of a little playmate I met when I was 7 or 8 years old and playing in the countryside. And we used to put milk and so on out for hedgehogs. And my father, my uncle's, his house was called Sunbury. So I just sort of put the two together. The name of the little hedgehog, I named Hedley after the little boy I met on holiday, and used the name Sunbury for the name of the farm. So Hedley the Hoglet, and a hoglet is a baby hedgehog, that's how the name came about.
I love that. And this is why I try to ask the question of every author, because I love when there's a really unique story behind the title of each book. I love it. Now, as you said earlier, this is a children's book. So, what is the age group of the ideal reader, or what is the age group that you're focusing most on?
From 6 to 9, but it is a book that actually can be read at any age once you learn to read, or of course, parents can read it to the children, but even adults can enjoy it actually, because it gives you a little information about hedgehogs.
Oh, I love that. And I had one author that actually said they too were a children's book author. And they said that they passed on a copy of the book to a local therapist office, and people that were learning how to read, or how to speak again after some type of traumatic event. And I said, oh my goodness, you're so right. Some people do have to start all over. And what a great way to introduce a really good kids book to an adult and they can have fun learning to read over again. So I like that you said adults are welcome to do it as well. That's awesome. Now, one thing that I have found with children's book authors is that they themselves have kind of a light personality, that they remember to be a kid at heart themselves. Have you found that you are like that as well, that you're still able to find the fun in life, even though life can be kind of serious at times?
Oh, absolutely. I I love being outdoors in nature, and gardening is one of my passions. So I always look on the bright side of life, let's say, and enjoy all the things around me.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad that you continue to have that outlook. I think so many people take themselves a little too seriously and they forget to have fun throughout their day. So that is beautiful. Now, I remember when my son was little, I didn't understand the differences between the various types of children's books. I remember one being called a chapter book, picture books, little things like that. For someone who's looking for a particular type of book, what category does your book fall into?
Well, it is a chapter book, but it's also got lots of beautiful pictures. So it's a combination of the two.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And you were saying 6 to 9, so that's definitely our elementary school kids. So that is such a great age group. Now, you have given us an explanation about the name, and thank you so much for the name of our main character there. But I want to kind of expand just a little bit, and that is, why was it important to give the characters their personalities? Why was it important that they have their own little unique bits and pieces about them?
Well, Hedley is a very interesting little character. He's very inquisitive and curious and loves to explore. His brothers, not so much. So the message is really to let children see you should use your beautiful imagination and go out in the world and explore things, ask questions, find out what life is all about. If you don't ask questions, you're not going to get any answers. And kids should really explore themselves, not just be listen to what they should do on a computer or play computer games, but to go out and find their own fun, make their own fun. And Hedley does that. And I think kids like to associate with animals. Teaching through animals is much easier because kids relate to them better than another adult telling them what to do. You know what I'm talking about because you're a mom.
You are so right there. And even as adults, if we think about it, we love watching those cartoons that have animals in place of other adults. When we see something that's animated and it is a person depicted, it's an adult cartoon. It tends to have a certain feel about it. But when it's an animal, it's fun. It has a bit of whimsy to it, and you still get the message. You still understand what they're trying to convey to you. But you're right; it takes a little bit of the stress away, and it allows for the message and the lesson to get through. You are so right there. Now, I want to make sure I give my lovely disclaimer that I always try to give, and that is my viewers know what I'm going to say. If you want to know how the story ends, you gotta buy the book. Now, with that being said, I do want to ask you about creating the storyline. As an adult and reading an adult book, we are given all of the nooks and crannies, and there's 300 pages of words for us to be able to come to a conclusion. Children's books, the pages tend to be much more limited. How was it when you were in the writing process? How did you determine what you would keep in versus what you felt needed to be edited out?
Well, I don't write down to children. I think they're much more intelligent than we give them credit for. So I tell the story plainly and in language they can understand. And I guess it seems to work, and I stuck with it.
You are so right. I think that in the plain language and just saying it simply, it gets to the point. What needs to be conveyed is conveyed, and perhaps adults put a little too much nuance on it. We put a little bit too much spin on what we have to say, or we're trying to pad people's feelings or perspective. So you're right. There's perhaps a little bit more overthinking when it comes to how adults express themselves. Now, I am pretty sure that when it came time to do the illustration, that as any person would, and especially any children's book author, you wanted to make sure that the illustrations were spot on. What is the process like when you're looking for someone to illustrate what you see in your mind's eye to make the book come alive?
Well, that's interesting because, as I said, this is a prequel. So it's the last book I have written in the series rather than would have been the first. The first book I wrote, I searched for a long time to find an illustrator, and it took us a long time to come to an agreement on what we wanted. It is quite a challenge. And the illustrator is quite different from the illustrator of this book. Unfortunately, she passed away. So when I did this book, I had to find a new illustrator and go through this again of getting our mindset, thinking on the same level. But I'm very, very happy with the illustrations with this book. They're very beautiful. They're quite different from the other books. That was a little more, I think, perhaps not cartoonish, but a little more simple. The illustrator of this book is an artist rather than an illustrator. So there is quite a difference between the two books. But it isn't an easy task, I must say, to get both of you thinking along the same lines.
And I've heard that before from children's book authors that once it clicks, it's a beautiful collaboration. It's just two minds getting to the same place and understanding how much to give or have the restraint of I must insist on this, but I'm flexible on that, and how that is such a beautiful dance because we end up with a great book in the end. So I know that's such an important step in the entire process. Well, it is time for us to take a very short break. But before we do, can you remind everyone, please, what is the title of this book? And if someone wants to reach out to you, what's the best way to do that?
The title of the book is Hedley the Hoglet of Sunbury Farm, and it is available through Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Writers Branding, and of course through my website, which is www.hedleythehedgehog.com. Or if you want to email, booktime@telus.net.
Alrighty, everyone. Now you know where you can get a copy of the book. We'll be back right after this.
For many people, a breast cancer diagnosis can feel like a battle they're facing alone. But we are in this together because there are mothers, our sisters, our daughters, our friends. NBCF rallies and screening, supporting, and serving communities across the country. Because every woman matters. every story is powerful. Every voice makes a difference.
Just beat breast cancer.
And every dollar helps. Together, we rise. Are you in?
And we are back. Thank you for joining me for Daily Spark TV. Now, I love this book and the story behind it, how everything was named, the pouring into the bits and pieces of it to make sure that it was just so. But I do want to give you a little bit more time to tell us about what you hope that your little reader will gain from having read this book or listened to this book. I believe that every author wants to leave nuggets of wisdom behind, that there's a message, a point to having read their book. What message would you like to share with our little ones?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, the importance of learning about nature. Kids should play outside more often and look around them. Be aware of their surroundings. You could be walking down the street and see little squirrels running up a tree or birds in the tree, and notice them and realize how beautiful our world is, and smell the flowers, listen to the wind in the trees. Find a stick and play and see pebbles, pick them up and look at them, smell, just be observant of things around you and be part of nature, because I think nature is just so amazing that we should all embrace it, be part of it. So the message is really for kids to get out and explore on their own and be curious, be inquisitive like Hedley, and be friendly and helpful. In the story, Hedley wants to be friends with everyone, and he helps other animals and other animals help him. And has a relationship with his brothers. They all have a very good relationship with the human grandfather and James. And James himself is very lonely. He's living with his grandfather because his parents are on a year's sabbatical. So this little hedgehog becomes quite important to him. He observes them and realizes that Hedley is certainly far more inquisitive than the other hedgehogs. And as the stories continue, they have a relationship and continue on their adventures in England. They moved from Wales to England, but that's the next story, so I should stop there.
Oh, I love how you are also giving not only a reminder, but permission to little kids to go outside, right? So their parents telling them that they should go outside and play, that's coming from a parent. But when their favorite book is telling them that they should go outside, it becomes more like an aunt or an uncle or their favorite big cousin saying, let's go outside and play. It takes on definitely a different feeling. And you are so right. As a kid, growing up in suburban lifestyle, that is a totally different experience than our city kids. And parents do need to remind them to take them to the park so that they can see the birds and the squirrels and all of that. And it really does help, I find, to calm your mind, to really give you a place to just relax and to just breathe and to take in the sunshine. So what a great reminder there. Now, one of the things that you mentioned is that this is a series, that this book is not just even though it could be read as a standalone, it has other parts that goes with it. Please tell us about this series that you have.
Okay, so after the prequel is The Adventures of Hedley the Hedgehog, and that's where they tell the story of the hedgehogs preparing to build their nests for hibernation. And the little boy in the story asks lots of questions of his grandfather. And they have just found out that their farm is going to be torn down in order to put in a road. This is in the 1920s when cars were just coming out. And the old grandfather doesn't like cars. He still travels by horse and car. So they do travel. They take the little hedgehog because they're going to lose their homes too, and they're going to a bigger farm in England. So they travel with the little hedgehog in a shoebox, and he has lots of adventures on the way. And then the story just keeps on continuing. Once they arrive in Somerset, England, Hedley makes new friends, has many more adventures, and there are still messages coming out to the children, along the lines of how important friendship is, and relationships, and kindness, and respect for others, humans and animals alike. And so the series goes, there's 3 more books, no, 1, 2, 3, 4 in all. There are a couple of little booklets I wrote, which are individual stories, but also continue on the same theme of friendship and respect and so on, and being in nature. So it is rather a delightful series, and kids have enjoyed them over the years. My own grandchildren are now fully grown, of course. And I did have a pet hedgehog for a while, and that really intrigued children. I'd go to schools with them, and we'd talk to children about writing. And the hedgehog was a big success, little Hedley.
I can imagine, because you don't get to see a hedgehog every day. So it's like, oh my goodness, what is this cute little fluffy, kind of prickly, but yet kind of soft little animal? And I've seen children in their amazement of this little animal, and how it brings a sparkle to their eyes. So yes, you've given those kids a memory for sure. Now when it comes to the portion of, I now have to publish the book, everyone has to ask themselves, am I going to pitch my book to what I like to call the big boys, the brands, the publishing houses that we're all familiar with? Am I going to use professional services, hire someone to do all of the bits and pieces for me? Or am I going to self-publish? I'm going to take on the responsibility and make sure that it all gets done correctly. When you were in that stage, how did you determine which way you were going to go?
Well, I started by sending stories out and getting the usual rejection letters. And then I discovered a group called Independent Publishers, and found out that, yes, you could self-publish. So I did. I got advice from people, and I found an editor, and in the first book, a graphic artist, and then a printer. And yes, it's a lot of work, and writing turns out to be the easiest part of it all. And then, of course, once you've got the book, and finding an illustrator, of course, in my case. So the first book took a long, long time, from the first thought I had and the first, words on paper to the actual publication of the book took a long time, because I had to find the money too to pay for everything. And it was a very thrilling experience. And I mostly went through simple things. I did do a lot of interviews locally. And as I say, I went to schools and I even did birthday parties, and I would go and take the hedgehog and tell stories and so on. And it was all a lot of fun and a lot of work. And
Oh,
I still think self-publishing is probably the best way for me.
yes. Oh my goodness. I could feel someone going, she just said birthday parties and she took the hedgehog. That just was an epiphany for someone. And
Yeah.
what a great way to introduce your book to all of the moms that are there. I love that. I love that idea. I thank you so much for coming on and spending time with me here on Daily Spark TV. I have so enjoyed my time with you. And I have a special place in my heart for children's book authors. You guys help influence and guide our next generation. And I thank you for taking that task so seriously. So thank you for that. Now, before I let you go, though, can you remind everyone what is the title of this book? And if someone wants to reach out to you, what's the best way to do that?
The title of the book is Hedley the Hoglet of Sunbury Farm. And you can reach me through my website, www.hedleythehedgehog.com. My email is booktime@telus.net, and it's available through Amazon, Writers Branding, Barnes & Noble, and so on.
I love it. Thank you again for being a guest on the show.
Thank you very much.
And viewers, thank you for spending time with us here today as well. I hope that we have enlightened, inspired, and empowered you again today. As always, may the Lord continue to shine his face upon you. May you receive his grace and his mercy in all that you do. Until next time, everyone, remember that you are blessed in the Lord. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.
Welcome to Daily Spark TV. Are you an author with a faith-based book? Be a guest. Serious about your product or service and want to try something new? Sponsor an episode. I see you're ready to get started. So visit drangela.chester.com. Thanks again for watching Daily Spark TV.
Feeling stuck? Looking for a spark? Meet your new favorite read, Living in Divine Incandescence. This book is your go-to guide for finding peace, purpose, and a whole lot of light in your life. Living in Divine Incandescence is packed with gentle wisdom and profound insights. It's perfect for anyone at any stage of life. It's time to embrace the light within and let it transform your world. Get your copy of Living in Divine Incandescence today and start living your brightest life in God's grace. Available on Amazon, Lulu, and wherever books are sold.